Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be here. I'm David Mitlyng. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Xairos, and it's my pleasure to talk about how we have novel quantum timing technology that we're going to use to create a global resilient timing architecture that will fundamentally disrupt GPS. Now, everybody here is familiar with GPS, but what you may not know is that GPS has been considered as creating the largest venture outcomes in history. GPS is completely embedded in our modern critical infrastructure. We rely on it for everything that we do in our modern lives. It's created over $2 trillion of economic benefit, and over 700 companies spawned, created out of GPS. But fundamentally, GPS isn't good enough. It's very weak signal, it's easy to jam, it's easy to spoof, and it's just fundamentally not accurate enough to enable next generation technology, 6G, self-driving vehicles, quantum internet. GPS isn't good enough, and fundamentally it's owned by the US military and they have 0.0 interest in improving it. We're coming up on a major anniversary with GPS on December 17th. 1973 is when it started. Here we are in the heart of Silicon Valley. Can you imagine any technology that we're still using 50 years after it was created? Like any. So, when you think of GPS, you know your location app on your phone, but the most value, the majority of economic benefit in GPS comes from enterprise timing. All financial transactions, all networks, all communications and power grids rely on that timing signal from GPS. And these, we don't care about the position navigation market. There's good quality companies doing that. There's 8 billion GPS receivers in the world, but they're $1 a piece, not a great market. We're going after enterprise timing, where 500,000 of these units are sold per year, ranging from $100,000 to $200,000 a unit. So the question you ask yourself is, well, why hasn't it been disrupted yet? 50 years on. Well, I think fundamentally it's because there are companies and sovereign entities that have built clones of it. You got these satellites up on orbit that are providing a position navigation signal. But it doesn't take account of the fact that there's 40 million cell towers around the world that can provide that same position timing signal linking to your phones. So what we're going to do is build that resilient global timing architecture to create what they call a super GPS architecture. And this is, what's nice about this is it'll be about 3 orders of magnitude more accurate. It'll be infinitely more secure and resilient, and it's very scalable. We can put our system on one satellite in geo orbit, provide timing over a hemisphere. 6 satellites on orbit gets you global timing. And then we can expand out, while we're waiting for our first satellite to launch, we can put it on fiber networks, get some revenue that way. And then the last step is that signal over the position, over cell towers. A lot of companies are working on this, is what they call super GPS architecture, but they need very accurate synchronization to work. So the way the technology works, it's fundamentally the same hardware as entanglement type QKD, except in our case, we're trying to synchronize Bob's clock to Alice's reference of clock or ensemble of clocks. For example, Alice could be, UTC reference center at Gila. It synchronizes that satellite, that master clock in the sky. It could also synchronize over fiber networks, and taken together as it's deployed out in a scalable fashion, you have true resiliency and accuracy. And then that last piece is the position and timing signal over the cell, which is your super GPS architecture. We've already built a proof of concept. It's working well. We're now looking to, we had a little bit of funding. We were able to get it built within about 6 weeks. We're now looking to, using off-the-shelf components that were developed for QKD, we're now looking to develop that, package it into free space demonstrations, a fiber product, and launch what we're hoping to be the world's first quantum timing satellite. Our team has been around, the company was formed in 2018 with papers my co-founders wrote. We were formed as part of the American arm of Spectral, the Singapore company. We split off in 2020 because we got some Air Force, NASA, and Navy contracts, and we used that funding to build that proof of concept. Right now, we're a little unique compared to some other quantum companies here because we're focused on, we got a mix of quantum, optical, and space expertise. My background is very large, exquisite space systems. I have $1 billion of satellites I've built and launched, serving millions of people around the world. We own the IP outright. We've gotten very good traction. We've gone through major accelerators and those contracts. But now we're at that point where if you want to disrupt GPS, create this super GPS architecture, we're now expanding into partnerships with timing and sync companies, quantum companies, clock companies, and space companies. So that's a bit about what we're doing at Xairos.
So to confirm, you're basically building a replica of GPS, but with quantum timing, in a word. What makes if you put satellites in space, they're still susceptible to denial of service attacks and the like. How do you? What's different about your capabilities there?
You're saying denial of service, or basically an adversary taking down the satellite?
Yeah, the two things, right? Adversary takes out the satellite. That you have the same problem. Is that right?
Because it's a quantum optical signal, it's nigh impossible to jam. It's impossible to spoof. It doesn't have those problems that you have with a weak RF signal. Now, as far as the satellites, we have to have resiliency, and the only way you get resiliency is to have on-orbit and on-ground spares.
Okay, and then if you're looking at a satellite constellation, this is something you put up as a payload. Did this go into LEO then?
Ideally, we're going to put it at GEO. Yeah, we can close the links that it works at GEO, but right now the system architecture is open. We're talking to some of the LEO constellation companies about hosting our payload on their satellites. But nominally it'll be a host on a GEO satellite. Just makes it simpler and also makes the ground terminals cheaper.
Okay, and then your ground terminals themselves, they go in the data center.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean they go on the roof, but yes, they go on the roof. They go on the cell towers. There's 500,000 of these timing and sync units sold around the world. Like I said, about $100,000, $200,000 a unit. So we're basically, our antenna will sit next to their antenna.
I think you said you are planning for your next demonstration to be still based on free space optics. Do you have plans to move to an integrated architecture? Or?
Yeah, so great question. So we are looking to deploy this in, we're going after a number of funded opportunities to deploy this, because right now we've gotten 2 nodes. We want to put it into a multi-node test bed and actually have a miniature, imagine a room like this with a super GPS system that we can just demonstrate and show it off. So that is absolutely a big next step for us.